Check me out, 6 p.m. The influx of Syrian refugees clamoring to enter the United States is at crisis levels. Bill O'Reilly spoke to Donald Trump last night about this. Listen to this.
Something has to be done. It's an unbelievable humanitarian problem. I hate the concept of it, but on a humanitarian basis, with what's happening, you have to. It's living in hell in Syria. There's no question about it. They're living in hell, and something has to be done.
Former Texas Congressman and 2012 presidential candidate Ron Paul joining me now. Congressman, how would you handle this situation?
Well, we should have done a lot less a long time ago. Trump points out that it's a real mess and we have to do something about it. It is a real mess. But I think the most important thing is that, yes, dealing with the immigrants is a very important subject. But if you don't learn how this came about and what was at fault and whose policies created this, it won't do any good. It'll continue. And, there are two sides to this. The neoconservatives say, yes, we think it's terrible because we didn't kill enough Iraqis soon enough. We didn't get rid of Assad soon enough. And we didn't do a neat job in Libya. But we need more people, more troops, and more weapons. And this will all solve the problem. My argument is they've already done way too much. And if you look at the immigration and migrant problems prior to the time we had, more recently, the goal of regime change in Syria, how many people were leaving Syria before that? Now, 1/2 of the 23 million people in Syria have been kicked out of their homes. 4 million migrants now leaving. And whose policy was it? Assad has to go. Assad has to go. And they said, well, Obama bungled it. But no, it's interventionism of Republicans and Democrats and neoconservatives still rule the roost that we have to remake the Middle East. And we certainly did since 9/11. We have remade the Middle East, but I see no positives. So we have created ISIS and Al-Qaeda. We support them. I mean, it's an utter mess. No wonder there are migrations.
Congressman Paul, though, a lot of people would argue that the Middle East has been an utter mess since the death of Muhammad, a lot longer than 9/11, and that you've had, whether it was the Ottoman Empire or whoever it was, you always had this sort of turmoil. You've got Sunni versus Shia. So are you saying that America probably should ditch its role as the world's policeman and whatever atrocities happen over there, just let it happen over there?
Yeah, I think the more we're involved, the more chaos there is. There's been periods of time in the history of that area where Christians and Jews and Muslims live peacefully together. It's when outsiders come in, when there's a crusade from the Europeans and the Americans to come in and take over. The motivation of all the rebel groups going in Syria are unified for one thing, even though they're fighting for control. They're unified by one thing: get rid of the foreigners. And that means get rid of America because we're in there causing all this trouble. Assad was bad. Saddam Hussein was bad. But Saddam Hussein didn't have Al-Qaeda. Now, just look at that country. Yeah. How could anybody defend our policy when you look at the results of Syria and look at the results of Iraq? And, one time we were supporting Mujahideen, which turned out to be the Taliban, and we were allied in a sense with bin Laden. So it makes no sense. We should be aligned with the American people. We should have a foreign policy of peace and prosperity, of non-intervention and minding our business.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's tough, particularly when, when more and more terrorism starts to come over here. But I want to shift gears a little bit. And before you go, I want to ask about what's going on in Kentucky with the clerk, Kim Davis, released from jail despite her refusal to issue these gay marriage licenses. Now, Governor Huckabee, he's been a very strong vocal supporter of hers. What's your take on this whole thing?
Well, it's a complete problem created by government because the simple solution is a libertarian solution. Why do we have so much licensing? Why do we license everybody from hairdressers to plumbers and everybody else to protect the people? I don't think you should license marriage, and then anybody can call marriage whatever they want. Just call it, an agreement or something to get out of this. The big reason that some of this stuff comes up is what is marriage is all about is financial as well as as religious beliefs. But in a libertarian society, you don't have these problems. I have my definition of marriage, and I follow it. But I recognize other people. This is what's so wonderful about libertarianism. It's tolerant. It doesn't preach it. The religious people don't preach to the non-religious, and those who want a different lifestyle don't preach to us, and they don't dictate to us and put their lifestyle on us. So people who want to find a solution need to look to the libertarian philosophy. Believe me, there is a lot of answers there.
Well, you shared some great thoughts with us, and we really appreciate it. Congressman Paul, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Well